Aristocratic quarters. Pharmacy director's room. Now what have we here? I never would have expected the head captain of the 13 court guard squads to pay a visit. Will falling prostrate to the ground before you just once suffice, Master Kyoraku?
Same as always, aren't you, Seinosuke?
Thank you for taking such great care of my younger brother. Nothing makes me happier than to hear that Squad 4 is doing well even after my departure. Well, maybe I should say that I'm glad it's doing well despite losing Unohana.
And do you hold a grudge against me?
That was just the kind of person Unohana was. If she determined that allowing Kenpachi Zaraki to live would save a great number of lives, then it made sense for her to stay true to herself and cross blades with him. Had I heard about it beforehand, I likely would have opposed it, but, well, she likely would have carried through with it anyway. She was strong, after all.
Is that so? Well, if you have any complaints, it would be helpful if you could direct them to me, rather than Zaraki. Regardless of how Unohana felt about it, I was the one who gave the order.
A coward like me could not possibly complain to Kenpachi Zaraki. Why, of course, I cannot complain to you either, Head Captain Kyoraku.
Who did you hear about Unohana and Zaraki from? I was certain we hadn't released that information to the public yet.
It was Tokinada Tsunayashiro. It seems he was hoping I would show some sort of grief, but all he found was disappointment. He even said it's no fun teasing someone who lacks a heart.
I see. He hasn't changed either, it seems. But that's still a terrible thing to say.
It is the truth, however. It seems that I am lacking in kindness and many other sentiments.
Not the humble type, are you? If you really didn't have a heart, you wouldn't have given that warning to your brother.
I see. So that's the reason the head captain himself has come here. Hanataro, that gossip.
Maybe it was him. Or maybe it was Isagi, or someone else that told me. Regardless, you were expecting word to get to me, weren't you?
I will leave that up to your imagination. So then, did you not come here in order to ask something specific of me? You didn't invite me to the barracks or to Central 46, but instead came on your own right to me. So you must be plotting something that cannot be made public, correct?
I'm glad it seems like our conversations will be quick, seeing how perceptive you are. Hikone Ubuginu, that's the name of a child who has been working around here lately, claiming to be a servant. Do you recognize the name? Surely, I don't think you can claim that you don't.
In that case, why even bother asking it? You must have come here after discovering that the child was a patient here.
Will you tell me? Where could that child possibly have come from? And who are they?
For all my imperfections, I am still a medical practitioner. Are you asking me to reveal information about a patient?
Yes. You're the kind of soul reaper who respects life at the end of the day, more than rules or pride or your position. Please, if you know about the child's circumstances, that patient of yours might be able to come out of this alive.
That you're able to express so much with just a glare proves you are the right choice to be head captain, and that you are an heir to the noble Kyoraku family.
You're giving me too much credit. This is the only way I know how to be, as I'm such an awkward man.
How much do you know about the Ubuginu family?
I heard it was a family line that served the Tsunayashiro family, but that it died off a while ago. Officially, that child is said to be a distant relative, but there are no formal documents about that anywhere to be found, even in the Great Archive.
Yes, that is exactly right. The Ubuginu family stock is long gone. It is not as though I know the minute details of Tokinada Tsunayashiro's plot. However, it wouldn't be a stretch to interpret his request of me as treason against the Soul Society. For example, it might be considered a crime to research unspoken events and then make use of that research. A fragment of Ryo.
Huh?
You know what that means, don't you? Especially as Ukitake's closest friend.
Are you saying that this child, Hikone, also has a fragment?
Well, that's not quite accurate. They used all the Ryo fragments that the Tsunayashiro family had collected thus far as a core. and then mixed it with Soul Reaper and human Konpaku. That is what Hikone Ubuginu is.
Soul Reaper and human?
Well, I was not the one who came up with the design, so I do not even know for certain whose Konpaku was used. It was not just 1 or 2 people, though. The Konpaku of a Soul Reaper as well as a human from the world of the living, likely Quincy as well, and at least 10,000 other Konpaku seem to be mixed in the child.
That's ridiculous. The child isn't a Menos Grande, and I doubt it would be possible to condense that many Konpaku together while maintaining Soul Reaper and human nature.
Quite right. The Tsunayashiro family has no craftsmen at the level of Urahara Kurotsuchi or Master Shutara. That is why, when they first brought Hikone to me, the child was in horrendous shape. The child had nothing from the neck up and was missing pieces all over their body. It seemed as though their soul chain and soul sleep were barely circulating spiritual power. And they told me to make it live. I simply did what I could. Oh, and I won't accept any discussion at this point that it would have been better off if I had left the child to die. You've already expressed that you are thoroughly aware of how I am, aren't you?
Well, that was the extent of my awareness. But I doubt you would be able to elevate what was basically a meat shell into an individual with volition. And considering that it contains several fragments of Reo, I wouldn't expect anyone with such substance at their core to so easily serve Tokinada.
Yes, and that is why Tokinada brought in one final component.
What component?
Do you know of a Quincy named Gremmy Thoumeaux?
Yeah, I looked over the records collected at the Great Archive after the war. Wasn't that the Quincy that Zaraki battled? Don't tell me that thing was...
Tens of thousands of Konpaku and many fragments of the Reo. Such a turbid stream of spiritual pressure surging like a vortex of chaotic consciousnesses could only be withstood by a Quincy brain with the ability to instantaneously create outer space. And only now that the previous owner of that brain's Konpaku was long gone. That thing, which had turned into a husk without life, was the last piece of the equation that had, against all odds, been delivered to Tokinada. That's the story. Don't you think it's ironic, Head Captain Kyoraku? You sacrificed Unohana to strengthen Kenpachi Zaraki only for the corpse of the Quincy he killed, or rather the brain, to end up right in the hands of your enemy Tokinada Tsunayashiro. Who would have thought?
Is this what you wanted, Seinosuke? Weren't you in a position to prevent this?
I followed my own convictions and let live what I could. I have no regrets about that, Kyoraku. I will ask you the same question in return. Do you have regrets? Do you not regret sacrificing Unohana for the sake of your conviction to protect the Soul Society? Kyoraku pulled his hat down low, and a lonely smile played along his lips.
You really are quite mean, aren't you? Maybe you really do hold a grudge against me.
Never. I'm just sentimental. The past, Zilbern. As the final battle with the Soul Reapers was progressing, an area of the Vandenreich's base had remarkably apparent spiritual pressure. A cage that had been sealed by Yuhavak had its barrier undone, and its prisoner, Gremmy Thoumeaux, was standing in the corner of the passageway. None approached him out of fear, except one single person.
Yo, looks like you're doing fine, you monster.
I wouldn't have expected you to be the one to treat me like I'm the monster, Liltotto.
Was that beyond your imagination? If you don't like monster, then I guess I could call you scum. More importantly, I run out of sweets and I just can't stop feeling hungry. Could you whip something up for me?
You're pretty much the only one who would insult me and ask for stuff at the same time.
Isn't His Majesty always saying to help each other out? Stop being stingy.
Don't call me stingy when you're trying to sponge candy off me.
In the next moment, Gremmy envisioned a mountain of donuts, and a giant bag of them appeared in Liltotto's arms. Her eyes widened slightly as she ate one.
Not bad, but a little too sweet.
I don't know what your preferences are. Seems like it'd be faster for me to imagine that you had a sweet tooth.
After we kill all those Soul Reapers and we're free, make sure you try some more foods. Then you'll be able to expand your imagination a bit.
I'll think about it.
Well, you were a lifesaver. Thanks.
Getting a thank you is nice, but aren't you going to pay me back or something?
What is with you? You can imagine anything you want, but you still want something in return?
It's a matter of respect. You wouldn't feel great about being in my debt either, right?
I guess you're right. Right. When we start our thing with the Soul Reapers, if I see somebody you haven't been able to kill, I'll try hitting them while they're down.
If I can't kill someone, then I doubt you'd be able to.
Then I'll just pester them in the most effective way I can, and then run away instead. It's not like I'd risk my life for a bag of donuts, right? They may be sweet, but I'm not.
Seriously, all the Sternritter are filled with egotists, His Majesty included.
That's a surprising thing for someone to say when they were just thrown in jail for acting like an egomaniac. So, what are you gonna do after the war ends and you're actually free?
Right. I've never imagined that. Maybe I'll try cooking? If I just try random stuff, then I might come up with something I couldn't have imagined. That seems like it'd be entertaining.
Make sure it's something that you wouldn't be able to imagine the taste of based on how it looks. If you so much as think that something looks spicy, even strawberry jam would end up like habanero sauce.
I'll take that into account. Next time I make food, maybe I'll imagine a super high-calorie cookie that'll fatten you up with a single bite.
Well, I'll at least try a taste of it. I'm expecting great things, scum.
Liltotto ate another donut and they went their separate ways. Liltotto joined up with Bambietta and the others, while Gremmy took along the Quincy he created from his imagination, Gwenail Lee. They didn't realize that conversation would be the last words they would say to each other. Present day, the Rukongai.
You said he was an ingredient?
Yes, the brains in my head mostly come from Mr. Gremmy. That's what Lord Tokinada told me.
So that's how it is. Basically, you're a completely different person who just has the same spiritual pressure as him. Of course that's it. There is no way that scum would still be alive. In that case, I can go right ahead and crush you then, can't I?
Liltotto created a Hylic bogan and pulled a Hylic file from the pouch on her back, pointing at Hikone's chest and letting it fly. A shockwave was generated, causing a violent turbulence of spiritual pressure.
What is this thing?
Hikone had used their palm to stop the arrow using both Blut Vina and Iero.
Wait a sec, that can't be right. Hollows and Quincy's are supposed to be the least compatible. That's the whole reason why we could pump Hollow Reishi through ourselves to get our Bankai back. Well, wait. To begin with, how can all of this Soul Reaper, Hollow, and Quincy's spiritual pressure even be blended together at all?
Without the Hogyoku or the events surrounding Ichigo's birth, a soul with blended Hollow and Soul Reaper Reishi would collapse, especially if a Quincy factor was also mixed in. Hikone, meanwhile, continued to stop the rapid-fire arrows with their hands.
What is making her so angry? Did I make some sort of mistake?
I haven't got a clue. Well, you might have just stepped on some sort of landmine. I thought they were just working together because they had to. But seeing as how they came to rescue the ones Mayuri took, I guess some of them did consider each other friends. That's its own kind of trouble, though. Come on.
As Hikone and Liltotto fought, the winged monsters attacked Grimmjow and the others. They were ceaselessly being birthed and then taken down by Seros, Balas, and Zanpakuto.
Hey, Grimmjow, what is going on here? Explain.
Huh? Can't you tell by just looking? I'm trying to kill that huge thing that looked down on me.
As Luppi attacked the main body, he watched as the horde of smaller monsters were mowed down by a stream of mud.
Huh? You're here, Harribel? I didn't know you were alive.
I thought the same of you. What are you doing here?
Obviously, I'm here to kill Grimmjow. But before I could do that, this huge thing got in the way. So I now have to crush it first.
Is that blonde Soul Reaper the masked one from Karakura Town? What in the world is happening in the Soul Society?
When she noticed that Hirako was neither fighting nor helping the monster, she realized he also couldn't grasp the situation. Grimmjow continued to attack the main body. Luppi swung his tentacles around to let loose Seros and mow down the flying monsters. Bambietta's fire illuminated the surroundings, and Liltotto kept shooting arrows. Hikone evaded everything while bowing to everyone between intervals.
I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I'm so sorry.
Nah, you haven't done anything wrong. But your boss, Tokinada Tsunayashiro, is going down. That's all.
Huh? Killing Lord Tokinada is impossible.
A chill buzzed up Liltotto's spine, and as she blinked, Hikone had snuck up to her chest.
Huh?
Hikone had traveled with implausible speed, using a mixture of flash step, sonido, and hirankyaku. As Hikone used a karate chop to break her bow, Liltotto saw that their hand had transformed for just a moment into a warped shape resembling a hollow's arm. Before she could understand what that meant, she was blown far away.
It wasn't just the Zanpakuto toe that changed. That kid's gotten stronger too.
Meninas managed to catch Liltotto as she was blown away.
Are you alright?
Sorry, didn't mean to be a burden.
I will stop anyone who tries to kill Lord Tokinada. And besides, Lord Tokinada is much, much stronger than me.
Somewhere in the Seirite, hidden passageway, Tokinada Tsunayashiro shook his head at the entrance to the visual department's special storage area, or rather the mountain of rubble that remained of it. The earlier combat had continued until an abrupt burst of golden spiritual pressure wind blew by, and a roar swallowed the passageway's floor and wall, reducing the entrance to powder.
I'm beat. I'm terrible at fighting. You wouldn't happen to be able to share the reason for the sudden wolfish violence, would you, Princess Shihoin?
Calling it wolfish is so nasty of you. I'd rather you call it cattish.
So will you tell me why you caused such cattish violence, Princess Shihoin?
I didn't think you'd correct yourself. But don't you think that sounded a bit forced? Well, whatever. I don't like long slogs. So in order to beat those assassins all at once, I just exerted my true power a bit. I wasn't expecting the walls and the floors to collapse just from that, though. You may send the repair bill to the Shihoin family. Although that's if you have the time to bill me.
Yoruichi paused and showed what she had been holding in her hand, what looked like a human fetus contained in a small cylindrical glass case, as well as something like a piece of hollow fused to the specimen.
I found these things together. Don't you think it's a slight deviation from the visual department's usual subject matter?
I've never seen those before. Perhaps you brought them with you.
You better hope your quick wit works on Central 46. I'm sure those cunning aristocrats would much prefer to set up an easier puppet rather than someone as malicious as you.
On that last point, I entirely agree. However, if you would go this far, might I assume that you will be rejecting my proposal concerning the Soul King and the Shiba clan?
Oh, I haven't got a clue about Byakuya, but I personally don't care if the world ends up changing in a way you said it would.
Oh?
Regardless of whether the ruling structure of the three world changes, and regardless of what happens to the Shiba family standing, I'll still be my own person. Plus, I'm sure Kukaku could probably handle whatever annoyances the Shibas being restored would throw her way. However, that's an entirely separate issue from whether I can look past what you're up to. I never wanted Aizen to stand in heaven, so what makes you think I want someone even scummier like you?
I see. I must say, I'm honored to be treated as an even worse villain than Aizen.
Weren't you listening? I didn't say you were a villain, I said you were scum.
I see. That is quite the difference. However, do you have any right to speak as a descendant of the Shihoins? Can you say that to me, a member of the Tsunayashiros, when you yourself are part of the same four great noble clans?
Yeah, and I'll say it as many times as I need to. Regardless of who my ancestors were, I'm my own person, and you're your own. The Tsunayashiro's pedigree and past deeds have no relations to this. You're just spitting on the world because you want to, Tokinada.
Yes, you're right. That's exactly it. I respect Byakuya Kuchiki for his ability to stifle his emotions for the sake of his clan. I am not envious of him at all. However, do not forget that once you strip away the rings of the tree, even an unyielding oak like the Kuchiki family is just as rotten inside as I am.
Either way, the Kuchikis have become a pillar that supports the world. It's arrogant of you to compare your family to theirs when it was your family's shoot, not to mention its very trunk that is rotten. So, where is this new Rayo that you were going on about? Whatever happens to you, I'd like to get a look at them with my very own eyes.
Oh, right. I suppose it's time to use my trump card.
He pulled a talisman out of his chest pocket.
Huh? What is that thing?
You can't tell based on the appearance? As I said, It's a trump card.
Tokinada began to funnel spiritual pressure into it, but Yoruichi instantly teleported behind him. She tried to grab the arm with a talisman, but Tokinada's form and spiritual pressure vanished like smoke.
Too slow.
Huh?
It's likely that he might have been using a soul ticket. We should check whether it was, and if he escaped to the Dongai. If Kisuke were here, he'd probably be able to chase right after him.
But I thought that other than those given to Ichigo Kurisaki's acquaintances, they were strictly regulated by Squad 1.
He likely stole the technique and personalized it. Really? He's top-notch at stealing other people's work. He likely stole that Kuten Kyokuku from his house as well. You didn't have to follow in your ancestors' footsteps that closely.
Central Pharmacy. After receiving several documents related to Hikone from Seinosuke, Kyoraku took a step forward and sighed.
Well, all you did was keep an injured person alive when the 4 great noble clans told you to, though the methods by which it was done are likely problematic. The ones who brought you the child were the Tsunayashiro family. From that perspective, they would be hard to refuse, and I think it would be difficult to claim that you should be charged with a crime.
Oh my, isn't that quite lenient of you?
I'd rather not say it. But if I were to charge you with a crime instead and imprison you, the aristocrats would likely object. After all, thanks to you, it seems there are many older folks whose lives have been extended despite only having a few years to live.
Who would have thought that Shunsui Kyoraku would have to do such governing? Being a head captain sure seems annoying. Perhaps you should try forcing it on someone else as soon as you can.
I've got a mountain of stuff I'd like to do that with. I don't know how long it'll take, but there are the old court guards that old man Yama left, and there's the new court guards. I need to find a neat point of compromise between the two. But in order for that to happen, I need to stop Tokinada now.
Don't you think you're a bit late for that, Head Captain Kyoraku? Don't you think it's odd that you're able to meet with me like this? Why wouldn't that strategy monger Tokinada have come up with some countermeasure to keep me quiet? If my guess is correct, Tokinada has already finished his preparations. That is why he has overlooked what you are doing and not intervening in any way.
I see. That might be the case. Yes, I certainly am making the second move. But you know, there's something I'd like to try specifically because this is the second move.
What do you mean?
I recently got a report from the Stealth Force. Apparently, there's a small commotion in the Rukongai right now. I believe it's likely related to the events that are unfolding.
Kyoraku then quickly related the details of the turmoil as well as his plan. Are you sure about that? Don't you think that plan could cause problems later?
This is exactly the time to do it. There's a precedent for it from the Quincy War, and it's one of the better options we've got. It's far preferable to opening the doors of Muken.
In the fight against Ikomiki Domoe, Hikone suddenly stopped moving and pulled a talisman from their chest pocket. The talisman was faintly glowing red.
Oh, Ikomiki Domoe! It looks like Lord Tokinada's calling us from the other side. Let's go quickly.
I have no interest in his welfare, but for now, I will obey.
The white mist cleared, and the monsters gathered into his mouth, disappearing into it as though being devoured. The mountainous giant then shrank, and transformed back into a white sword, and was sheathed in Hikone's scabbard.
What the hell? You're running away again?
Yes, we're running away. Oh, right. Is there a Mr. Kugo Ginjo around?
Huh? How do you know my name?
Oh, so you're Mr. Ginjo. Lord Tokinada told me your name. He wanted me to try comparing my strength to yours, but I think I'll have to ask you to do that next time we meet. Yes.
Why me? Who is this Tokinada guy anyway?
Lord Tokinada's my master. I heard that you were also a candidate for being the Reo, Mr. Grimmjow, but I'm the one who's going to become king, so I won't lose to you. I look forward to when we next meet.
What did you say?
Hikone bowed to Ginjo and turned to open a garganta to leap into.
I'm so sorry to do this after you all went out of your way to fight all out with me. I need to head over to Lord Tokinada's sanctuary, but if there are any of you who still don't accept me as the king, then I'll gladly keep fighting with you until you do accept it.
Huh? What's this kid saying? It's not like I'd let you get away.
Luppi released Ceros from his 8 tentacles, and the Quincy girls all fired their arrows, but Hikone released blue-white glitter from their hand.
And so, if you'll excuse me...
The glitter became a gigantic Sero created with dense spiritual pressure released at full strength. It swallowed all the incoming attacks and then hurtled towards the Arrancars and Quincy's. Nelliel and Liltotto both jumped out in front of the beam and opened their mouths to devour the Sero, using Sero Doble and the Glutton. Nelliel added the Sero to her own and launched it back out, but the Garganta had already closed.
Looks like you've got a similar skill.
I can't shoot it back, though. Vomiting something you've eaten is a waste anyway.
I agree with that.
So what do we do now? You want to continue from where we were earlier?
That's up to you, women. As long as you do not meddle in Hueco Mundo any more than you already have, we have no reason to be hostile towards you.
How can you be so soft, Nelliel? We already accepted the fight they started. Do you think I'll just let it end like this?
You're right, a fight has already been started. Though I'm referring to ours from several years ago.
Huh? You're still alive? I thought that monster crushed you already. What? Are those two going to fight each other again? I'd like to stop them, but it'll likely just complicate things if I say anything. Maybe I should use Tokinada to make it so neither of them can fight. No, that bomb girl's here. If things end up like they did last time, that'd be the worst. Is that guy over there really Kugo Ginjo? He does look like the corpse that Ichigo brought back to the world of the living, but...
Please wait!
Huh? Nanao, is that you? Why are you here? What is it, woman? What do you want?
She got on her knee.
Under the name of the 13 court guard squads, I shall take everyone here under the custody of Squad 1.
Yeah? What makes you think you can come in here like you own the place?
Wait, Grimmjow.
Why should I, Harribel?
Your goal is to get that strange Soul Reaper and Zanpakuto, isn't it? You should consider this discussion relevant to that.
Harribel then glared at Luppi, who was trying to attack Grimmjow while he was unaware, putting him in check. She then nodded to Nanao.
The 13 court guard squad's head captain, Shunsui Kyoraku, has something he would like to discuss with you.
Somewhere in the Rukongai.
Good grief, it seems they've put a damper on things. You've really gone too far now. It seems I should check on whether Tsunayashiro outwitted head captain Kyoraku. Though, things would have been settled so much faster had he just consulted me from the start.
Just how much had you already guessed from the start?
I'd hidden surveillance bacteria in the zombie girl, so I was already observing them when she fought that child in Hueco Mundo. I tried to have the Quincy's and Fullbringers fight in order to attract the Tsunayashiro family's attention, but as I said earlier, it was outside of my calculations that they would get involved directly so early on. I should thank those Arrancars for interrupting things.
You really are a frightening guy. Were you just using those Fullbringers and us as bait?
I am sure I have already said that obtaining Fullbringer specimens was part of the goal. More importantly, have you finished the analysis?
Yeah, it was difficult because that giant thing was growing while it fought, but I generally understand its spiritual pressure's pattern. The problem is that even though it's not on your level, its spiritual pressure's patterns change constantly. I think I could paralyze it, but not for that long.
Why do you seem so proud of yourself? Of what use is it to be so proud of observation equipment producing the results of an observation? It makes me hesitate to include you in the deal I made with the Glutton Girl.
Not like I want to be in debt to someone who's just watching his Baz be... Wait, are you actually gonna let Candace and Menina go? In that case, how come I don't get a reward for what I did? Ow, 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 ow!
You demand a reward before you had repaid your debt to me for elongating your life? Oh, you Quincy's truly are heartless monsters. Really, I bet you believe one can live off of sentimentality instead of money.
Ah, that's no reason to shock somebody.
You should know that I have collected all the data I needed on you as an experimental subject. As far as the Lightning Girl and the Muscle Girl are concerned, the public image of releasing them should be enough. But since I have the chance, I've got another piece of work I'd like them to carry out. So, in the short amount of time we have remaining, we will determine the power dynamic between the court guards and the aristocracy.